I want to talk to you about site visits, and if you got a site visits coming up, there is a specific process to actually follow. Okay, there are a few things you need to really do, and there are a few things you need to actually watch out for. So I want to talk to you about what you should do before the visit, during the site visit, but also after the site visit. Okay, so before the site visit, it's important to really understand here is that basically you want to clarify the purpose. Okay, because at the very core, a site visit is more than just a walkthrough. If you think about it, it might be a pre-bid meeting, a progress check, or a safety inspection. Depending on the federal contract or the state contract that you actually bid on, you have to really comply with some site visit instructions or requirements. Okay, if the contract is very sensitive, you might have a pre-bid meeting. In other words, government procurement officers are just making sure that you are indeed the right company to actually bid on such a program. Maybe because the program has to do with national security or something sensitive. So you might have a pre-bid meeting. Okay. If it's a progress check, it means that the contract has already been awarded to you, and government, like let's say, analysts or officers are just making sure that you are on track. Maybe because the project actually has some specs that you, as a bid winner, have to actually comply with. Okay, or it can be a safety inspection. So site visits are really are various or varied, if you will. So you want to clarify the purpose. Every type requires a different focus. For example, if you are a contractor attending a Navy base pre-bid meeting, you are actually you might need, for instance, to confirm electrical panel access that was not documented in the statement of work, right? Because again, anytime you're talking about military bases or military facilities, you have a few different specs to pay attention to. So basically, if you do a site visit pre-bid, you have, like in this specific example, you can actually have a cost advantage to actually know how much you should actually charge. Okay, and one thing you need to understand here is that you want to lock in the details early. So you want to confirm the date, time, and point of contact well in advance. Ask about security requirements, PPE needs, okay, and any other visitor restrictions. If you are heading to a high security site like a military installation, you want to arrive early and have all IDs ready. Okay, we have seen delays at the gate, which cut a site visit short and limited the information a contractor could actually gather. So, if you are having a site visit coming up, you want to review the documentation. Okay, so again, I'm still walking you through what you need to do before the site visit. Whether the site visit is happening at an outside facility or on your own facilities. Okay, so you want to review the documentation. So when I say documentation, it can be lengthy or it can be short, depending on the specific project or the contract that you are actually bidding on or that you have been awarded. Okay. So when I say review the documentation, you want to go through the solicitation, the statement of work, the SOW, and any technical drawings. Those drawings can be complex sometimes, especially if you are speaking about a very specialized, like highly specialized economic sector, for instance. Okay. And you want to mark questions directly on your copy so you can address them on site. For design build projects, you want to confirm measurement units, tolerances, and access points before you even set foot on the property. The reason is that you want to have what I call a memory foundation. You want to have a clear idea of what you are going to look for once you are on site. Okay. You also want to pack the essentials. So when I say essentials, you have a few things that will actually help you get your job done properly. Like things like you want to bring photo ID and access documents. Again, when you are going to a high security zone or a highly sensitive facility or like military bases, for instance, you also want to bring PPE such as a hard hat. Okay, you want to have safety glasses, vest, gloves, and boots. Again, it depends on the hazards There are actually prevalent on the site that you're going to. You want to have with you also plans, drawings, or blueprints, notebook, or a tablet. Okay, this actually depends on the specifics of the contract, camera or phone for documentation, as long as it is allowed. Because on some facilities, a phone or a camera will not be allowed, and also measuring tape or laser tool if allowed. So that's what you have to do before the visit, okay? Those are the few things you have to really do. Like I said, you want to clarify the purpose, lock in the details early, review the documentation, and pack the essentials. So what about during the visit? There are a few things you need to do also during the visit, okay? So first thing you want to do is you want to observe more than the agenda. See, the whole thing is that the agenda is just setting the foundation for the meeting. But once you are on site, you have to use your eyes, you have to use your observation skills to actually see what's really happening, okay? Don't focus only on what's pointed out by the guide, because the guide actually may not actually capture the true essence of the work that you might have to perform. You want to look at staging areas, delivery access points, the drainage, and environmental conditions, right? Because the whole thing here is that you have to really understand that you are if you are picked for this contract, you're going to have to perform the work, or your team will have to perform the work, right? So there are a few things you need to really familiarize yourself with, and that's what I was just telling you. You have to use your perception skills, okay? On one Coast Guard project, one client of ours noticed the staging area was located on a slope. That detail helped them factor in equipment stabilization cost, which later protected their margins. And you also need to ask high value questions. Don't ask trivial questions. Don't ask irrelevant questions. Okay, you are a professional. You know your field pretty well. What you are observing on the field should guide the kind of questions you're asking. So the right questions uncover hidden risks and opportunities. So examples include: are there restrictions on work hours? Like if your team can work late nights or early mornings, you want to know that beforehand. How will utility shutdowns or tie-ins be handled? Who approves changes on site, and how long does it take? Right, this is important to have an accountability check. And also, are there site-specific safety or environmental regulations beyond beyond federal requirements? So one thing you want to do also during the visit, if you are having a site visit, is to network when appropriate. See, the whole thing is that you are going to have the site visit with humans, okay? Not with robots, not with AI, no, with humans, okay? So those government officials, they are people, and it's all about we are social animals, as somebody says. So use every opportunity to actually network, okay? So if the visit is public or attended by multiple vendors, brief conversations can reveal how competitors are thinking about the project. Okay. So when you actually network around, let's say, around competitors, never share your strategy. Okay. Never share your strategy. But I think the most important, the most recommended strategy is to just listen. You want to listen to what others are saying. You want to listen for what others might overlook. Okay. If you are in an observational stance, if your perspective is more observational or analytical, you're actually a winner already. Okay. So, so less talk and more listening. Even when you network with government officials, when you network with procurement officials, okay, that's important. And you want to take detailed notes and photos. Here, I cannot stress enough that granularity is really important, because granularity is going to provide the intel that you need later on when you go back to base, so to speak, when you go back to your office and have a conversation with your team. Okay, if you take detail, the more detailed the notes, the better. The more detailed the photos, the better. So you want to document conditions that could change your approach. So you want to include measurements, access limitations, or hazards that could affect cost, and schedule, right? It's all about how you plan yourself, how you plan your work, okay? And these records are valuable if questions arise later, or if you need, let's say, to dispute, to dispute something, okay? But before I talk about the detailed notes and photos, if photography is restricted, you want to sketch, layouts, and also annotate your notes. One thing you have to really think about is that, so I just finished what you have to do during the site visits. Okay, during the site visits, there are four things you need to do the same way you had to do you had to do before the visit. So during the site visit, you want to observe more than the agenda. You want to ask high value questions. You want to network when appropriate, and you want to take detailed notes and photos. Now, what should you do after the site visit? You've gone through the site visits, you actually talk to folks. What should you do actually? So, what you want to do here, you want to organize your findings immediately. So, here we are speaking about synthesizing. You have to really summarize your work. You want to update your bid or project plan because when you have a site visit, you have uncovered new information or at least up to date information that could really guide your pricing more, that could guide your offer more, that can guide your capabilities statement more, right? It's all about clarifying. It's all about, I would say, deepening your knowledge about the specific contract you are bidding on. So when I say organize your findings immediately, within 24 hours, maximum 48 hours, you want to compile your notes and photos into a clear summary. You want to highlight anything that changes scope, cost, or schedule. And these records are valuable if questions arise later or if you need to dispute a charge. You want to update your bid or project plan. So what happens here is that you want to incorporate the site visit details into your pricing, technical approach, and compliance checks because once you go on site, once you have an in situ sort of observation, there are a few things that might change in your bid. If you identified risks, for instance, you want to decide whether to adjust your bid or include clarifications in your proposal. And you want to follow up also with a contracting officer, with a procurement officer. So what I mean by that is that you want to send a professional summary email confirming key points discussed and any outstanding questions, okay? This not only keeps the communication open, but also demonstrates attention to detail, which contracting officers actually value big time. So it's important to really understand here is that when you actually, or if you have a site visit coming up, you have to really look at a variety of factors, a variety of elements, okay? Deciding factors depending on the specific contract you are bidding on, okay? So if for instance, you have a detailed questions in advance and you note, let's say a few elements that can really distort or change your view of the project, of the contract, of the bid, you want to really record that, okay? The cool thing is that some industries are more, I would say, are riskier than others, okay? So some industries are more hazardous than others, like construction, for instance. This is a highly risky sort of a field to be in and to actually bid on. So if you have a construction contracts that you're bidding on or that you have won, you have to pay attention during the site visit. Whether you're doing it like before the contract gets awarded to you, or while the contract has already been awarded to you. And one thing I want to mention also is that at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what are the what are your findings during the site visits? How are they impacting your bid, your capability statement, your bid offering? Okay. And if your site visit is tied to an active opportunity, it's important to understand that you want to really make sure that you are communicating with all the teams involved. The teams who is going to perform the work, the team who has been following up with the contracting officer, and the team that's going to stay at base, like in your office, and coordinating all the activities. There has to be seamless communication between all those three or four, or between all the teams that are working on your behalf for like on the contract. This is going to help you actually solidify your professionalism, your credibility, your reliability vis-a-vis the government, because those contracting officers, they have to really also relay information they see while the contract is ongoing. Okay, and so while you're performing the contract, if you show a certain level of professionalism and credibility, those good skills will be actually recorded in your files. So one thing you need to really understand here is that when you have a site visit as part of a contracting opportunity, you really need to understand that everything depends on the specific contract you're bidding on. Okay, because for instance, you don't have to attend every site visit listed in a solicitation. Some site visits are mandatory, some are not. Okay, but if the site is marked as mandatory, if the visit is marked as mandatory, missing it can disqualify your bid, because contracting officers are paying attention to those criteria, those admission criteria, because they're looking at a site visit, like site visit attendance, as I would say an enrollment, okay, as an approval criterion. And you can also bring subcontractors to a site visit if if those subcontractors have been working with you for a while and they are actually pretty solid when it comes to the specific contract. Okay, but one thing you need to make sure is that you want to confirm with a contracting officer. Okay, anything that any, um anything that happens, you want to confirm with a contracting officer. Okay, because in some cases, some visits have attendee limits, especially when you are speaking about high risk area like military bases and so on and so forth. Okay, and also, one thing you need to really understand one thing you need to really understand here is that if you notice something on site that contradicts the solicitation, you want to document it. You want to document it immediately, and you want to follow up with the contracting officer in writing. Right? It's all about clarifying certain things. It's all about making sure that you are setting expectations properly. That your expectation level is exactly what the government is actually having as expectations, right? You do not want to have, let's say, gaps in expectations, and before you know it, you start realizing that what you bid on at the price you bid on is actually way lower than what you saw during the site visit, right? It's all about aligning your work, your delivery expectations with what the government is actually expecting from you. So, in conclusion, in today's conversation, I'll walk you through what you have to do during a site visit. Okay. So, before the site visit, during the site visit, after the site visit. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.